So what I'm trying to do right now is I'm trying to get the rim lock loosened from the tire. So right now the rim lock's holding it in. I'm pushing against the Mousse right now because the Mousse is going to constantly try and drive the rim lock back into the rim, which is a pain in the butt. So the way that we get around that is we have to start it 90 degrees. We have to start it adjacent from where we want to start, and then we'll start kind of breaking this bead with this bead breaker to try and get this off. I actually haven't done a desert mousse before, so this is, usually I run like softer enduro mousses that are like 5 or 6 PSI, right? But this is more of a stiff desert mousse stuffed in a pretty stiff desert tire. So you see how much force I have to get on there? I have to try and basically get that bead down so I can shove one of these wrenches in here and get it inside the lip of the tire. And this is going to be a son of a gun.
Like in the valley of the rim?
I'm trying to get it in between. See, like right now I'm not in there. I'm trying to get it in between, in between the bead and the rim. And on these stiffer desert mousses, I have to get it below this lip right here into what's called the drop center. Yeah, the drop center. And that's how you get tires on and out, is the drop center. Where a lot of people have trouble with mousses is they don't keep the tire in the drop center while they're trying to pry it up and over, and they just tear the bead, and they just tear the internals of the tire, and they rip this whole bead apart and break that like circumferential. They're basically just it's just wire, cable wrapped around in a coil to keep that bead tight. And so I have to get this down, and I have to get these inside here.
Which side of the tire in the drop center typically? Knee or one of those motion proof?
Usually these. So you buy these in a kit, and they come in 5 from Rabaconda, because you're going to need all 5 of them. And you need ones that are strong. You can't buy the cheap ones. You can't buy aluminum ones, because the steel ones have a sharper point, and they're a lot stronger. And when you're doing mousses and you're trying to pry on it, like it's a lot of, like, you see how that one's bent to shit? That's from doing a mousse. Like a fresh, brand new mousse on a fresh tire. Like after I've got a couple tires out of a mousse, they come off real easy. But when I've got a fresh one, no, this doesn't go anywhere. I mean, this stays in my RV or it stays at home. So what I'm trying to do right now is I'm trying to get this one in, and this does not want to work real easily. Sometimes I have to go a little bit further in here, but I really have to like pry on this because this is such a stiff one. I think that's in there now. So then I go about basically the width of this. I go over and I put in another one, and I line up all 5 of them and get them ready. Yeah, without this machine, it's really challenging to do desert mousses. Enduro mousses are pretty soft. Desert mousses are a son of a gun. Well, so the stiffer the mousse is, the more it presses against the sidewall of the tire, so it's not actually getting as much friction. If the mousse is smaller, as it starts pulling away from the tire in certain areas, it creates friction because it's hitting it, not hitting it, hitting it, not hitting it, versus it's got constant contact when it's like plush or new. And as it shrinks, it becomes in less and less contact with the tire. So that's where you get more friction as it shrinks, which just accelerates the shrinkage, accelerates the wear. Like that mousse is actually from last year in Romania on the back of that bike. So is the front one actually. So those mousses are from August of last year, and they're still fine on a big bike. And that's 430 pounds stripped.
What bike are we talking about?
That Tenere right there?
So that was my question. So you're running mousses on your Tenere?
Yeah, which is very particular.
It's a little unusual, right?
So you have to switch the wheels.
You have to do what?
You have to switch the wheels. The rear is too wide. So mousses are a very particular size, and you have to match the size of the mousse to the size of the tire. And if you've got like a standard 4 1/4 inch adventure rim, it's too wide. They don't make a mousse physically that wide. So you have to do at least a 2.5 inch rear rim if you want to run a mousse. And then you look at the tire charts and you look at the tire, and they'll tell you what mousse that fits that particular tire with a rim. Now you have to know that there's 2.15 rims and 2.5 rims. And so that will change the mousse size that you run. So tire size, mousse size, and then what mousse do you want to run? Like a soft mousse or more of a desert stiffer mousse? So there's a lot of It's a lot to learn, but there's usually charts. And if you call somebody like Taco, he's going to be able to tell you. He more knows like probably desert stuff versus I'm more into the like enduro-y type of mousses and tires. So
Even with the Michelin charts, a little hard to determine.
Michelin's charts aren't that great.
Non-Michelin tires, like what's going to fit, you sort of just got to.
I started trying another manufacturer of mousses. It's not Plou's tires. I can't remember what it is right now. But if you go on their website, they literally have a chart that shows every manufacturer tire because they don't make tires.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Actually, no, it's X-Grip. They do make tires. But they show what mousse will fit what tire, and they have different firmness mousses. And you just pick, you know, I have this tire, and if I want, you know, this or this stiffness, I pick this mousse. And they tell you. It's very convenient. It's getting easier, but it's still not. It's still kind of like experiment, especially on the big bikes. It's pretty experimental because the mousse reacts differently. Like a regular full-size Michelin, for me, is more like a soft enduro mousse because the bike's so much heavier.
Okay.
So I have to run a stiffer mousse simulation to get an enduro feel because the bike weighs twice as much as a dirt bike. So.
Are you still running Michelin mousses on that?
Yeah.
And then are you running stiffer tires at all to help sort of support that? Or?
So I don't run like a full soft gummy tire. I run one, it's like a semi-gummy. So it's because the big bikes have too much torque and too much weight, and the gummies, the full gummies, it'll just roll the knob on the tire and then rip it off. And you won't actually get traction. The knobs are just pushing away. So you need like the next step up. So like in Midas, it goes yellow, single green, double green. So yellow is like a medium compound. Single green is like a semi-soft or like a semi-gummy. And then double green is like a full-on gummy. So like you would run a full-on gummy on like a dirt bike, but you would run like the semi-gummy on a heavier adventure bike. And I wouldn't do it anything other than like anything bigger than like a mid-size adventure bike, like a Tiger 900 or like a KTM 890 or a Tenere. Like those are the mid-size adventure bikes. Any bigger than that, most of them already have like, they're usually running like 17 or 19 rears, and they're usually running 21 or 19 front. So it doesn't work anyways. There's no mousses for that. There's no good tires for those wheels. Like not like this, you know, like this is what I run. That's what I ran in Romania. It's a Midas TerraForce single green. So you can feel how soft the knobs are. Like these side knobs, and these are just phenomenal. Versus this is a D606 Desert Mousse, so try and move that knob. I mean, it doesn't even, it's rigid, right? If you have a stock rim and you want to try, the only tire that really works on a stock 4.5 inch or like 4 1/4 adventure wheel, because a lot of the adventure wheels are 4 to like 4 1/4. The Shinko MX216 is, we run it on like, before I got wheels, this is all I ran. And this is kind of like a medium compound. It's a little older, so it's a little stiff, but it's a medium compound tire, very similar to the Midas. So if you don't want to switch your wheels, this is a really, really great option. And they're like $80 a piece.
Yeah, the price of it.
Yeah.
That's a 216?
MX216 and a 140 rear. It just naturally, the bead is really wide, so it stretches on the wider rims, but you can't run any less than like, I've run 12 in it, but you got to be really, really careful with the throttle because there's no rim lock, right? So 15, 18 is about the lowest you want to go, but man, at 12, it really hooked up. Like it was awesome. Tire pressure makes a big difference. There are some people in the adventure space that will tell you otherwise, and it's not true. Like my wife she's 5'3" and she's 130 pounds, and what tire pressure I run, I can't run for her because she doesn't have enough physical weight to compress the tire. So I can, if I run 9 PSI I've got in her Cove 800 Rally, I'll pinch the tube. But I can run 9 PSI in her bike because she's not compressing the tire as much. So I need to get a nice wide footprint for her, so I'll run at less pressure, and she'll get this really wide squish. Like tire pressure, basically less tire pressure increases the footprint. So you think the tire's on the bead, it's a certain footprint like that, and then you lower the tire pressure and look at how much more traction I got. right? I just widen the footprint of the tire. So if I'm going up a rock climb or a sandy climb or specifically like a muddy hill, right? The wider my footprint is, the more bite I'm getting up the hill. But you have to balance that. Am I in the desert? Are there huge rocks? I don't want to like pinch a tube, right? So I want to put the least amount of air in there to get the most amount of traction I can get while being cognizant of where I'm riding, right? If I'm in the rocks, I need a little bit more because I don't want to pinch the tube and I don't want to dent the rim, right? Because if I dent the rim, I'm in trouble, right? So you just have to be cognizant of where you're riding and what you're doing and the terrain that you're in. And I'll run different Mouses. I'll run, if I'm doing like a desert, I'll run the Terra Force in a yellow, which is like a medium, because it'll hold up longer. Versus if I'm doing like an enduro ride and it's muddy and it's sloppy, right? I'll run the single green. It's the same exact physical, like it looks exactly the same, but the rubber compound's totally different. Like the durometer, it's softer. Yeah, like you put this on the slick rock and it just spins because it's got no bite, right? But you put this on that and it just all day, but it's gonna burn up twice as fast. So it's just being cognizant of the application that you're in. The Shinko, we found it to be a really good all-around tire. I can get about 1,000 miles out of a Shinko, but I think of it as cheap insurance, right? If I'm gonna go do, a lot of guys are like, I wanna buy a tire that's a 50-50 so I can get 20,000 miles out of it or whatever, right? But then I'm gonna go out do a BDR and it's only 500 miles and I'm only riding that week, right? If I drop the bike 20 times and I'm miserable and I'm tired and I break $3,000 worth of shit on my bike, that sucks, right? And even a lot of times the tires that last a long time are $200 a piece. The Shinko's like $85, right? Yeah. If it lasts me one BDR and I never drop the bike, but it's roached when the ride is over and I didn't break anything and I had more fun and I didn't struggle and I made it to the end of each day, not at midnight with time to cook and have fun, it's the cheapest insurance you can buy for a bike. Like tires are literally the best thing you can do. And I don't know why a lot of like the like big like YouTube guys always want to tell you like tire pressure doesn't matter, get a 50-50, just work on your technique. No, there's a point where like it's muddy, it's nasty, like I don't care. Like you need a better tire, like lower the air pressure if it's muddy. Like if you're going in a muddy section and you have a pump and it's raining and it's a swamp and you can't make it up a hill, drop the pressure. Like if you're gonna struggle and then fall and roll the bike down the hill, that's way worse than just dropping the air pressure 10 PSI and just crawling up the hill and then filling it when you're done. Like it's stupid when people tell you like air pressure doesn't matter. It totally matters. Running 35 PSI in a tire off-road, like, well, like think of like, does anybody have those like workout balls and you buy them and you have all this like excitement to use it and you fill it up and it's all firm, and if you were to roll it over this little rock, it would like deflect, right? And then you throw it in the closet for 6 months and you don't use it and it gets half flat, and then you roll it over that same thing and you don't even notice it, right? So that deflection that you're getting from the tire with too much air is also a consideration too. But again, you have to be cognizant of what you're doing. You might pinch your tube or you might, you know, clap the rim. If it's super muddy and it's just in the woods and there's not many rocks, who gives a shit? Drop the pressure. Only in the rear though. Don't worry about the front. The front's fine. Yeah, the front's fine. Don't worry about the front. Because if you lower the pressure in the front too much, it'll roll when you go to turn. If you want to turn, you're trying to get those side knobs to bite in the dirt and you keep going. But if you lower it too much, the whole tire is going to roll and you're going to feel like your front end's just washing out all the time. So, and you're also, your front wheel, because of the angle of the suspension, the tire gets pinched way easier. The rear is tracking, it's pulling. Yeah. So it's not gonna pinch as easily versus the front is gonna pinch a lot easier. So I wouldn't touch the front, I would always mess with the rear. And that's what's driving you forward anyways. It's a lot of talking, not a lot of moosing.
Good information.
This one does not wanna, I wonder if it's...
What do you think of the Dakar Mouses, like the super heavier, stronger parts of it?
The name is in what it does. That's a fast speed desert bike. It's got a stiffer carcass for going quicker, for taking big rock hits out of nowhere, right? That's a great bike if you want to do 90 miles an hour in the desert. It's awesome, great tire. Or it's gonna last you a long time on the road if you wanna do it on the road. You start getting into like slower speed technical, what changes how a tire feels also is how many plies are in the side of the wall. And like this particular tire in the single green versus the double, or versus the yellow, that's a 2-ply sidewall versus the yellow is a 3-ply sidewall. So naturally it holds its own weight better. And most desert tires have more plies in the sidewall to hold it up better, to protect from really hard, abrupt impacts. You might be doing 90, 100 miles an hour, and if you hit that buried rock super hard and you blow up your rim because your sidewall is too stiff, you're not gonna have a good day. So they tend to make the desert tires with a much stiffer sidewall.
And is that just a MOTO's gummy?
It's called a TerraForce. EF is the range. And you gotta have, you can put it in the front of, like usually, if you have a 185 front adventure wheel, you can run it on that. The 215s are a little bit of a stretch for it. But you can run a TerraForce EF in a 2.5 rear or a 165 or a 185 front. But anything bigger than that, it doesn't fit that well. The TerraForce is a great tire. I ran it in Romania. I really like the Shinkos, but once I switched to the TerraForces, they're like 20 bucks more. They bite hard, like really well, and they last a little bit longer. The Shinkos are good, but the TerraForce actually lasts longer, and they bite better. I find I get more traction. It's a Mitas tire, yeah.
So I got a KTM 890 tubeless stock rims, and I ended up getting the Mitas car tires.
Okay.
Trying to get a little more reinforced in case I hit something that it doesn't blow it out.
So that's helpful. What you have to watch out for in the really stiff sidewall tires, like the Mitas specifically, some of the desert ones, the sidewall is so stiff, if you run low PSI, it'll take a side hit and it'll actually blow the bead right off. Really? But because this has a super soft sidewall, if you run low PSI, the tire will flex out of the way while still keeping the beads seated. So you have to be careful with that. A lot of guys will be like, oh, I'm just gonna air down my super hard, rock is a hard tire, and then it doesn't even, like it doesn't flex even with no air in the thing. The things don't move, right? And then you put 15 PSI in it and all of a sudden you're riding and you take a side hit and boom, it pops off the bead. You're spinning on the rim and then all of a sudden the tire's bead won't seat because you burn the bead.
At one point I was doing some work on the bike. I had 0 PSI in those tires, and I could ride it around the driveway. So those tires were strong enough to hold it on the rim.
And it didn't even look like it was low on air.
Yeah.
But if you were to take a fast turn and it's side loaded, or you took a rock like this, you were going straight and you kind of like went at an angle and kicked a rock sideways, it would just blow that right off the bead. I've seen it so many times. So I don't even touch Mitas tires, or I don't touch the Tractionators or any of the Motas tires. It's a harder tire, so guys like it because it lasts longer than most dirt tires. But again, tires are cheap insurance. The Motas are also like $200 a piece. That's like 102 and that's, or like 100 and that's like 85. I think these spoons need to be replaced. I think 2 of these are so bent I can't even get them in here. I might be able to get it out with 3 or 4, but it's gonna be tough.
So you mentioned about adding Mousse balls or taking them out.
Yes.
If you take them out, do they self-distribute? Do they stay put?
Yeah, they kind of self-center when you rotate, or like
Just
once you
as
ride.
spin, they just
They still have to be kind of tight against each other, but you can really like pack them in so they kind of squish out if you want a really stiff feel. You can't like put them into the point where there's like play in between any of them. It won't feel right.
You're not like here.
No, not at all. They have to be touching. You can just crush them together. I don't know if I can even get this one in.
Because it's too cheap to be.
See how stiff this sidewall, or this Mousse is. Doesn't even want to let me get my spoon in.
But don't do it just for us here.
Well, I have to do it anyways because Corey wants a new tire on there, but man, this is just being a son of a gun. I don't ever run desert tires and desert Mousses because I don't usually do a lot of desert stuff, and I actually still like the softer Mousse anyways. So normally I don't even touch these. For me, they're too stiff. I can't even get these in though, and all these just keep falling out. I might make Corey do this because this is a son of a bitch.
What was your name?
Andy.
Andy, that was a great talk. Thank you.
Thank you. This does not want to stay in. That one's in.
Do we just need to bring the rear wheel in and you just...
You wish. This one's being a son of a bitch. I can't even get it in the, yeah, there you go. There we go. Keep going. It just will not get in there. Let me try it this way. Yep, there we go. That one's in. I'm gonna try going the other way because it actually seemed to do better that way. For some reason, it's working better putting them on this side. Yeah, there we go. I don't know why. You can let go. They didn't want to go in. For some reason, they didn't want to go in this way, but they'll go in this way. I know. There we go. Now we're cooking with kerosene. Yeah. Yeah, that was a lot of talking.
Mousse in there, or is it?
Yeah, it's a mousse in there, and it's really stiff mousse.
Okay.
It's a very stiff desert mousse.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. See how it like popped in all of a sudden?
Yeah, you got to the center, the drop center a little bit. Yeah.
I appreciate you doing my tire, Andy.
Well, I'm gonna get it off, but you're gonna put it on.
Well, doing it too would be probably way.
There we go.
There's nobody here selling tires, is there?
No. No. Not that I'm aware
On
of.
the slick rock, I'm going through mine a lot faster than I thought I would be. You know?
Oh, you burn them up so fast.
Man, I know I got enough to get through this weekend, and now I'm looking at it going, oh no.
There we go. So I gotta get this in the drop center now, and now I can try and pry this out. Those are fine. Leave those. Oh, there we go. I just need to get in the drop center. Now we're in the drop center and we're good. Yeah, really stiff ass tire.
And why are we changing this tire?
It's too hard for like the slower technical enduro riding that we're doing today. This is more of a high speed, fast desert tire.
Yeah.
And this is not a high speed, fast desert racing event.
No, I see that. I got that. Believe me, it's killing my soft tire. I'm just going through it so fast. I'm just like, and I usually run a desert tire.
Yeah, it'll burn them up pretty quick. It's a little bit of a son of a gun.
Getting up in line. It's good to. It's
Cool.
entertaining to watch you.
Yeah. There we go. Oh, that sucker just popped off. Let's see if I can just yank it out. Oh. It's so stiff. Let's see if I can get this one in. Get another one right here.
Oh, wait, he changed his mind. We're all getting back on tire.
There we go. Just walk it over. There we go. Slowly but surely, we'll get it out of there. Oh, there we go. Let's get one more. Oh, it's a ton of work. And now what we're running into is the rim lock is kind of holding on to the tire and the mousse a little bit. So we kind of got to get it in there. And that'll help us give it a little bit more room to release and come out. Just kind of got to wiggle a little bit, let that bead release. Yeah, desert mousses are a challenge. There we go. One more. See, now we're getting closer to the rim lock, so it's gonna get harder to get this in here, but that should do it. There we go. There we go. That should do it. It does not want to come out.
If we all set that bill, you're making $150 an hour, you're at $180 an hour, he's at $150 an hour, like, all right, here's our bill. Standing here, what?
There we go. Now we're out. All right, that was the hard part. Now we cheat. And we press it off from the other side. So now we're just gonna push it off and cheat. Now that the mousses are the beads off on the other side, we're just gonna push it over. And then that wheel lock releases. And then we just have to stretch it over the rim lock like this. Pry the rim lock in, or at least try. I might have to just tighten the rim lock. There we go. And then I can just push the tire right over it. Now, I should be able to, I'm actually gonna know where the rim lock is, because I need the tire to hit in the drop center. So I need this to come up, sit in the drop center, and I can press it off this side. So just walk it around. There you go. Without the Rabicana, that would have been miserable. That's it. You get to mount the other one, because I don't want to pinch a tube on accident. I mean, what size is that? Is that a Michelin? No, I know, but is it M16, M15? I think we can fit an M16, because that's what I was running before. There's an M15 in that on 120, but the M15 fits the Shinko. We can put, so why don't we just take this Mousse out and put it in that Shinko? Okay. I have Mousse lube. I have like jugs of it. Jugs and jugs of lube. Just for you. So, now I gotta get this out. That's really stiff. It's a Michelin. Oh, this is an actual desert. So I run a standard M16. This is a desert M16, which is even stiffer. Let's just put it in there, because I don't like that tube that came out. But I mean, already you've got, that tire's way softer and way gummier than this. So it'll be fine. So normally I run a lot of dirt and mud, so my mousses get really like grimy, and there's a lot of shit in here and I have to clean them. But this isn't too bad. Normally you want to get any like dirt, sand, grime out of here, so that way it doesn't get into the, in between the tire and the mousse, and it doesn't degrade it. It's like sandpaper inside the mousse. So you normally want to clean the mousse, clean that, put all new fresh lube here and there, and put that together. But 20 PSI simulated. It's a much, much stiffer simulation. But again, Corey's much heavier than I am, so I can run a softer mousse because my tire will compress less. He needs a stiffer mousse because his tire is going to compress more. So this is not a problem. So this goes back in the tire. Somebody's got to do it. I'm just getting all the extra old grime out, and now I'm gonna grab some mousse lube. So I run this. This is just nitro mousse lube. It's the same thing. It's all just high-grade silicone. That's really all it is. It's KY jelly. So usually for a rear I need 2, at least 1.5 normally. So first, this tire's a little older. I'm gonna wipe it out and just make sure there's no crap in there. Clean the bead. Make sure the bead's good. I'm putting at least I'm putting the mousse in the tube, because it's slimy, and then Corey could do the rest. But yeah, Andy. Andy Janik. I run a company called Heavy Enduro, and then I work with Camel ADV. We do a lot of like, he sends me a lot of the prototype stuff, and I beat the crap out of it to make sure it works. And then I call him and be like, this sucks, fix it. And he does, because he's awesome. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take all this Mousse lube, and normally I have a brush that I use and I kind of like coat it really well. But in this instance, I'm just gonna put some in here and just shmoo it around with my hand. So you just kind of, the goal is to kind of evenly distribute it throughout the tire and get all of the surfaces of the tire besides right here, because you don't want it to slip on the bead. So you kind of just squish some in here and then you just kind of shmoo it around. Some people like to lube the mousse. Some people like to lube the tire. I usually put some on the tire itself, and then I take the leftover and I put a little bit on the mousse, just to make sure. You can't have too much mousse lube. It's just gonna ooze out of the tire. So more is generally better, especially if you're riding a lot of like mud and watery, shitty areas. So it spreads pretty easily. Really important is the sidewall, because that's where a lot of friction is gonna be. Yeah, you can. You demount it and lube it. But what I've done is, you know, you're taking a tube out, so there's a hole from the tube. So I just take the tube and I cut the valve stem off and I put it in the wheel. And that does two things. It makes it so if I'm running like a really soft enduro mousse, I can't seat the bead without air. So I use that to fill the tire with air to seat the bead. It also makes it so that I can take the valve core out and I can actually put some of this mousse lube in a grease gun and I can grease it up and it'll just kind of naturally float around in there. So if it's been 6 months and the lube dries up, I just squirt some of the tire without having to take it apart. Because you can damage the bead really easily taking it apart. And so it's not great. Usually you're fine unless you're riding in really, really hot, high-speed conditions or really, really muddy conditions. Those are the two kind of like exceptions. It washes away the lubricant. So there's a silicone-based lubricant, and when it's really muddy, it washes all the lubricant away, and then you have nothing. Then you get friction inside. Dirt, mud, sand, water. Water's not a great lubricator.
Abrasive friction.
You've got abrasive shit all over and just chews up the mousse, and all that heat breaks it down. This is the one that I used already. So I don't need a lot on here, just a little.
Looks like you need at least 1 tube.
For the front you can get away with 1, but for the rear you usually need at least 1.5. And the bigger the tire, the more you need. So you kind of have to, you can buy some of this stuff in tubs sometimes. I just keep it in these little, and I also don't want to drop it on the ground in the dirt either, because that would be unideal. So I'm just gonna kind of rub it all around the mousse. And then the fun part, trying to get it in the tire. So the best way that I've found to do it is you sit on it to spread the butt cheeks, and then you just kind of force it in there. Well, this is a mousse, so it's like think of like a pool noodle, glued together at both ends.
I've only seen a section of it, so I didn't.
So it kind of just rolls in there. And this is a really stiff mousse, so it's going to be challenging. It's a little bit of a fight. That's it. Now we take these off, because I won't be able to hold the mousse. So this first part, what's up, dude? This first part's the hardest part. Trying to get it on, because the tire is so so stiff with that Mousse. I mean, that's like putting 20 PSI in a tire and then trying to mount it. That's really challenging. So now I'm gonna flip this around. So this is aimed towards me. And then I'm gonna stick this right here and I'm gonna get this rim lock in here. And this is the fun part. I have to push the rim lock forward, hold this bead in with my knees, and then I have to try and pry this way. And there's gonna be a lot of grunting and screaming and yelling and swearing probably, because this is really the hard part.
Oh my God. Of course, if we try to do it, you wouldn't look at this.
No, this sucks. So I kind of have to.
Well, we tried that.
Sometimes it does that. And you gotta kind of try and get back at it pretty quick. Kinda. Mike, can you help me for a sec? I'm like right there. I just need that last section. Yeah, stick a spoon in there for me.
Yeah, where are they? Where are they?
Right there. And back it off a hair. There we go. Sometimes these really stiff desert mousses take an extra hand. Thank you. Now, cool. So the rim lock is on this side, right? So I'm still on the rim lock. Now I have to get the entire Mousse shoved in there, which is the next fun part. They get so slick with oil and grease. There we go. There we go. So now the Mousse is pretty much completely in the wheel. So then, now that that's in there, all the way around, you can see how stiff that is. Now I have to line this stem, or this wheel lock, has to be about a fist length away. Because I'm gonna start here, I'm gonna put this right here, I'm gonna lock that in, and then I'm gonna walk the tire around, and when I get to that right there, I'm gonna have to push this in while I try and pop the bead over, which is a real son of a gun.
Every step you say that.
Well,
This looks like so much work.
it is. It's a lot of work. And see how it just wants to hold this up? So sometimes we take one of these to hold this in the drop center as we walk it around, right? So I'll kind of take this. All my stuff's in the sand. I don't want sand in my Mousse. I'm gonna try and get this bead buddy in here by prying this down. And then shoving the bead buddy in there so it helps hold this into the drop center for me. It's not gonna work. I gotta go around a little bit more. So I have to try and shove this in here. And this has to push this down into the drop center. And then hook that. And it doesn't want to.
Single track flexibility.
There we go. So now that's going to hold that down and guide that into the drop center a little bit, so it doesn't get stuck trying to sit in the bead. It helps. Now, well, you can use the spoons sometimes, and you can kind of do this and hold it down with the spoons. But this drop center is really deep on this rim, so it takes a lot. I have to get this tire all the way down in this drop center to be able to pull it that way. And if I can't, it's not gonna go. I'm just gonna stretch the bead and tear it. So it's a little tricky.
So then I tried to get one out in Australia.
It's not too bad till about here, and then it starts getting really challenging. What's up?
So it fits and then I pull on my jersey. Like it looks like I'm in drag. Like it's just ripping. And then people are like looking at you.
There we go. That should help us out when it comes toward the end. Should. Oh, this is work, yeah. So see, like even with my knee, I can't even push that down. That Mousse is so stiff that I can't even get that down. There we go. So if I get this down, when I take my next bite, it'll suck this in, which is tough, because that one's gonna wanna move. And I wanna listen for cracking, because if the bead starts to crack, I'm forcing it too much, and I'm not in the drop center enough. And that, see how tight that is? That's too tight. I got to get more of this in the drop center. And that's going to be really tough.
Welcome to Moab.
It's really close. And then that'll happen. So you got to watch your face. There we go. So what I'm going to see is as I pull it, I should see the tire slide into the drop center more. And if I don't and I hear it cracking, I'm forcing it too much. So I need to get this in a little bit more. I'm going to try and get another one of these over here. There we go. So see how it's held down there? It should help pull it into the drop center. Should. So see how much easier that just got? Because now I'm in the drop center, and now it sucks it in there. It should stay there, until we're done. So now the fight will be getting this side into the drop center. See how easy that was? But I had to get all this in the drop center and hold it down. So now that I'm getting close, I have to flip this over like this, come this way. I'll probably take one more bite here. And if I want to take another bite, I have to kind of back off a little bit to squeeze that in there. I'm going to take one more bite right there and see how easy that fell in. Because I was in the drop center, I didn't need much force at all. So now I'm really close. This is the fun part. I'm going to take this. I'm going to pull this one out because I'm already there. This is already stuck. It's not coming up because I'm so stretched, right? So I'm going to take this, come up a little bit. I'm going to use this. I have to push in the rim lock so I can get the tire in. And then I'm going to take this, pop that in, and it should press right in for me. Just that last little bit. I can pry on that. There we go.
You did it. Very satisfying. Huh?
And I want to keep that in, right? So that tire sets in. And now I want to take all these out.
So don't break.
I didn't know if they were going to ride now. You know,
There we go.
with Gabe coming out, brother falling in,
There we go. There we go. See how it just popped into the bead because the tire's so stiff? So I need to make sure that I'm in the rim lock, and it looks like I am. And now I just want to check and make sure I'm all the way. There's usually a line on every tire, and I want to make sure I'm all the way fully seated with that line. Wipe off all the excess.
It's not challenging, but it's easy.
Flip it over. Make sure the other side's good. And we're all the way even on this side too. So that's it. We'll just tighten up the rim lock and we're done. So I think the torque spec on these is usually like 10 foot-pounds. You don't want to crank it too much because you'll cut the bead in the tire, but it needs to be strong enough to not come off. That's how easy it's not. Now imagine doing it without a Rabaconda. It sucks.